everyone back tonight with the book of Habakkuk, um, right before we get to the New Testament. So we're like right at the end of the Old Testament. So it's pretty awesome stuff. Also went and bought a cross. Me and Kayla did. We actually painted it red. Of course, it represents the blood of Christ, and also we did it. We did the letters in white, which represents purity. Also represents God's glory, and also represents the resurrection of Christ. So we went and did this. We painted it, uh, we wrote "Jesus Saves" on it. We also wrote John 3:16 on it. We got most of the verse on there, but we can't get it all on there because it wasn't enough room on it. But we got most of it on there. But we thought it was something pretty cool to do as a background also. And just let people know that Jesus saves, and no one else can save you but Christ. So it's pretty cool stuff. But anyway, getting to the book of Habakkuk, and it says this: the oracle that Habakkuk the prophet saw. It says Habakkuk's complaint: O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear, or cry to you violence, and you will not save? Why do you make me see iniquity, which is sin? And why do you idly look at wrong? Destruction and violence are before me, strife and contention arise. So the law is paralyzed, and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous, so justice goes forth perverted. Basically, what's going on is, as we know, Israel is in sin. They're not wanting to repent, so God's allowing them to be attacked. He's allowing destruction to come upon them, and Habakkuk's asking God, why are you allowing this all to happen? Well, it's because Israel's in sin; they're not wanting to repent, so God allows it to happen. It's a discipline issue. God's allowing this stuff to happen to discipline Israel so they can get right with Him, and turn away from their sin. The Lord's answer: look among the nations and see, wonder and be astounded, for I am doing a work in your days that you would not believe if told. For behold, I am raising it the Chaldeans, which is where Iraq is today, that bitter and hasty nation, who march through the breadth of the earth and seize dwellings not their own. It's a very fast army that attacks very swiftly, like the Greeks did. They are dreaded and fearsome. Their justice and dignity are forth from themselves. Their horses are swifter than leopards, more fierce than the evening wolves. Their horsemen press proudly on. Their horsemen come from afar. They fly like an eagle swift to devour. They all come from violence. All their faces forward. They gather captives like sand. At kings they scoff, and at rulers they laugh. They laugh at every fortress, for they pile up earth and take it. Then they sweep by like the wind and go on, a guilty man whose own might is their God. Which we all know Christ is the only God that saves, and there's no other God out there but Christ. People, it says right here in verse 11, it says and they sweep like the wind and go on, guilty men whose own might is their God, meaning that very prideful men. They're so full of pride. It's like they're a god, a false god, of course. They think of themselves as a god because they're so prideful. But God humbles. If you're full of pride, God's gonna humble you. That's just honest truth. God hates pride, and be humble because God loves humbleness. He hates somebody who's prideful, who's always all about themselves, not humble. So God loves humble, and be humble to people, be good to people. Habakkuk's second complaint: are you not from everlasting, O Lord, my God, and my Holy One, who's of course Christ? We shall not die, O Lord. You have ordained them as a judgment, and you, O Rock, which is Christ, have established them for reproof. Read that again. It says, O Lord, you have ordained them as a judgment. Man, God's allowing them to be judged through this war. And you, O Rock, who's Christ, have established them for reproof. So God is allowing this for them to be disciplined for their sins. You who are of pure eyes then see evil and cannot look at wrong. Why do you idly look at traitors and remain silent when the wicked swallows up? the man more righteous than he. You make mankind like the fish of the sea, like crawling things that have no ruler. He brings all of them up with a hook. He drags them out with his net. He gathers them in his dragnet, so he rejoices and is glad. Therefore he sacrifices to his net and makes offerings to his dragnet. For by them he lives in luxury, and his food is rich. Is he then to keep on emptying his net and mercilessly killing nations forever? That's chapter 1 about that. Of course, chapter 1 talks about Habakkuk's complaint. He's complaining about God. God, why aren't you allowing all this evil to happen to Israel? It's because Israel's in sin. They're not wanting to repent, so God is allowing them to be attacked and judged. It's part of God's judgment is for them to be attacked and hoping that they repent their sins and turn back to Him. And the Lord ends up answering, says what I basically just said. And Habakkuk complains again about this, pretty much the same thing. He's like, why aren't you allowing this to happen if, the thing is, God allows things to happen for a reason. We don't have to answer for things. We don't know why things happen like they do. We know that He's in control. We know that He has the answer, and we have to have faith in Him. Repent of our sins and live our lives for Him. We're not supposed to complain about, and we're not supposed to complain to God. We're not supposed to, question God. But it's hard, of course, because we're humans, and we want to know the answer to stuff, and we're impatient. And so, of course, it's easy to complain. It's easy to question stuff because that's as humans. That's in our nature. But we're not supposed to question God, and we're not supposed to complain to God. And that's where faith and trust in God comes in. Is that you trust in God that He's gonna do the right thing, and He will. You just gotta have patience. You gotta just trust in God, and He'll get you through anything. You just gotta trust in Him and have faith. But anyway, that's chapter 1 about all of that, and chapter 2 will be next.